I'm Al DeRogatis. My job as a sportscaster takes me all over America. I've been in many stadiums like this, but seldom in the quiet of a deserted one, when the stands are empty and the roar of the crowd is but a soft echo of the past. However, I think it's important that all of us be alone once in a while and think about where we've been and where we're going. That's something all of us should do. And that's what this film is about. Athletes who have taken the time to discover the secrets of success, not only in athletic achievement, but also in life. Each has a story to tell, a story that can prove helpful to you and to me, helpful to anyone who aspires to achieve.
The first game that I ever played in professional football, I wasn't prepared to play because I wasn't starting. The fellow in front of me got hurt and I was thrown in, and I saw things that I wanted to do but couldn't because I wasn't prepared. And I found through preparation that the more you prepare, the more you're ready to play a game, the more confident you are. And you've got to have confidence in what you're doing before you can be successful at it. The second thing is execution. You can bone up for a test as much as you want to, but if you go in and you forget everything you learned or you studied, there's no way you're going to be successful. And on the football field, execution on game day, on Sunday, is only going to be achieved by execution in practice. And I've got a saying that you play as you practice. And if you're not prepared to practice during the week, you're not prepared to play the game on Sunday. The third thing, and the most important probably, is learning from your losses. A lot of times everything doesn't go so right and that you lose some ball games, but it's a poor loser that walks away and says, well, the guy was just lucky that he beat me. But it's a smart loser and an intelligent loser that walks away and says, that guy never beat me the same way twice.
Go! Go! Go!
Although he's a superstar, Bob Griese spends a lot of time with youngsters. He feels it's important to share his knowledge and teach them what he's learned on the playing field. Bob himself relied heavily on the advice and example of his coaches and teachers when he was a youngster.
Well, when I was a young kid, my father died when I was 10 years old, and I didn't know who to look for, not only in leadership in the family, but also in the athletic field, which I was very interested in. And I stuck to my coaches. They knew what I was wanted to hear, and I sort of identified with them as far as being my father, my football father, my baseball father, and I got some direction from them. Listen to my coaches. They know more about it than I do, and if you're not in the athletic field, listen to your peers, listen to your teachers, listen to the people that are ahead of you, and take their advice. It's the best advice that you can get, and then go from there. And once you get experience and you're a little bit above that, then you can teach people below you. But the thing that you've got to have is desire and determination to improve yourself.
When Stan Smith walks on a tennis court, he takes with him 5 hours of practice for every hour he spends in competition. Being prepared, Stan believes, is the first step in doing your best, the first step in excelling at what you do. A late starter in his profession, Stan has come a long way in a short time.
You know, a tennis player can play tennis his whole life. This is a great thing about tennis. You can enjoy the game no matter what age you are, from 6 to 96. I started playing a little bit later than most of the kids. Ralston, Ash, Lutz, all these fellows started about 6 years old as soon as they could hold onto a racket. I really got involved in baseball, basketball, football, and these sports, and kind of accidentally got involved in tennis. By the time I was 15, I decided, well, this was really the game I wanted to pursue, although I had to give up basketball, which was my first love. At this point in time, I found out that you can really do a lot playing tennis. You can travel all over the world, and right now you can make a lot of money, but also in tennis, you have a great opportunity of meeting great people all over the world, and you find out that people have the same motives and the same urges through life to be happy, really. In tennis, many people really have a misconception that you don't have to be too fit to play, but if you see many professional tennis matches, you'll find out that many times we'll play for anywhere from 2 to 5 hours. I've been involved in some 5-hour matches, and then after that had to play some doubles matches. And so you really have to be in tremendous condition. I think my background in football and baseball and basketball have really helped me, because I know that in those sports we had organized practices where we did wind sprints and calisthenics and a lot of running drills, and these things really carry over into tennis, especially basketball, because many of the moves in basketball are very similar to those in tennis. The higher you get into a sport, you find out that the more you have to work, because the guys you're competing against are more talented, and they work hard too. And you find out that in order to compete against these guys, you have to be in top physical condition, but you also have to be able to sacrifice both mentally and physically. And by mentally, I mean you have to learn how to concentrate in the game. It's much like reading a book. If you read a book for 30 minutes, you might get more out of it than you would for 2 hours if you didn't concentrate for those 2 hours. And so when I'm on the court, I try to work on one particular shot or work on my weaknesses and aim for certain points in the court. So I'll get as much out of that time that I'm practicing as possible. I found out that as you go into the sport and you work at the sport, you find out you'll get better. And the better you get, the more confident you'll get. The more confident you get, the more you'll win. And the more you win, the more fun you'll have. So it's a combination of many things. But if you don't have the natural talent that your buddy has, you have to decide that you're going to have to spend a little more time on the court. You're going to have to concentrate a little bit harder, and you're going to have to want to win a little bit more than the other guy.
For a man of 35, Lou Brock steals bases with incredible cunning and speed. But it isn't all by natural talent and luck that he holds the Major League record of 118 stolen bases in a single season. He has worked hard, concentrating on the things he does best: his hitting, his base running, and most importantly, his ability to upset the opposition.
I get a great deal of excitement, enjoyment out of the challenge of stealing a base. I like the competition against the pitcher, against the catcher. I like to try to tune in on what he's thinking, because at that moment it dictates to me what I got to do. And I got to be ready and I got to be sharp. Sharp simply means practice and practice right. It's not one of those things that happen to you overnight. What does a stolen base mean in terms of team victory? One of them is applying pressure to the defense. You got the opposition just a little out of gear, so to speak, what the norm is so far as his rhythm pattern. All you're trying to do is break that concentration just a bit. So a stolen base has that effect. Your ultimate goal, your ultimate destination in playing a team sport is to be able to reach the fiesta at the end of that season. And we go out and play our 162-game schedule. The most important thing at the end of a 162-game schedule is the reward for such a thing, which is the World Series. If it takes stealing 10 bases in order to get there, I'll steal 10. If it takes 100, I'll steal 100. So all those things, when you talk about the individual performance, the individual performance is a part of team effort, but it does not become bigger than a team effort. And that is why when I make statements that I would trade those things off and get into a World Series, people look at me as though I'm crazy and say, you got to be kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding, because it takes a team to win, and I'm just part of a team.
Laura Bough is the youngest professional on the women's golf tour. She first picked up a golf club at the age of 2, and at 16 became the youngest person to capture the women's amateur title in Southern California.
Okay.
Laura has worked hard for her success, and she's grateful for the opportunities that golf has given her.
Golf has given me a lot of opportunities. It's given me the chance to travel. It's given me the chance to learn to take care of myself, learn to respect other people. And golf is, well, it's made quite a bit of money, and it's also done a lot of other things that, you know, money can't buy. But at the same time, I don't think golf gives you anything. Like any other thing, a person that is successful works for what they get. The difference between amateur and professional golf is you're making your living out here. And I am quite young to have supported myself for over a year, I don't know, a couple years almost. And I think that was the initial pressure. That's what made it so much different than amateur. I haven't won one out here. I've come in second 4 times and third a lot, but I haven't won one. And as an amateur, I won a lot. And it's a different feeling out here. There are a lot of people out here, and there are a lot of low scores, and there are a lot of factors besides just playing golf. There are a lot of emotional type things, but not necessarily with another person. There's your flight, and there's your food, and the motel, and the travel to the golf course, and things that a lot of people don't realize when they see you teeing off. Did you get your laundry done the night before? Things that don't always, mean anything except to you. And being able to play golf at the same time is what you've got to conquer out here. I know that maybe a lot of people say, well, you've got something special that makes you drive, and motivation, or you think better or something. I think that everybody that has a desire or real want will spend the time practicing. For me, I know that practice is the key. When I do have a bad round out on the golf course, it's hard to live the rest of the day. And especially if you have it on a Sunday, which is the final round. Let's say you had a chance to win it and you didn't. And it is hard. And the last 2 or 3 holes are always leave you in the mood for the day. Like if you bogeyed the last hole, you're pretty impossible to live with. But when I am playing, I realize that, especially coming up to the last hole, and I realize that this is going to stay with me for the rest of the week, or it's going to stay with me at least till the next day's round. And therefore, just try the best you can on every shot, and never waste or rush anything. Never try to get it done, and maybe it's lucky, maybe it's not. Because if you try the best you can every time, then there's nothing more you could do.
Julius Erving, Dr. J, probably the best all-around basketball player in the game. His first step on the road to success began with getting involved, being willing to learn and try new things. Basketball, one of the things he tried, broadened his horizons at an early age.
I started playing at a recreation center in Hempstead, Long Island, where I grew up, and the coach that I had then, at that time, didn't just teach me the game of basketball, but he emphasized to me all the important things that a young man should understand in growing up. We traveled around Long Island, we traveled around Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and around the whole New York area, and I got a chance to see what was on the other side. I got a chance to see people with big homes, color TVs, 2 cars in their garage. And the questions that came to my mind at that time were, well, why am I in the situation that I'm in? And these people in much better situations financially, and they seem to be much happier people. The answers that he gave me were, well, Julius, these people have attained these things because they have gone through this system here in America, which is a very competitive, hard-nosed system. The way that you can attain the things that you see and that you want are to become a part of that system and conform to the ideals of that same system and place yourself on an avenue that's going to lead you to bigger and better things. Basketball just became one of the many things that I became interested in. At the time, I participated in other sports. Played football, I played baseball. While I was in school, I was active in the student council organization, the student government, and I became a very diversified young man. And I think it's important for a young kid who's in high school now, who's in junior high school, to come to try and understand himself and what he's all about. And in exposing himself to many different types of things, learn from them, have a youthful type of enthusiasm in relating to the things that he's exposed himself to, and always want to learn, have that desire.
Mary Decker was bored. Like many girls her age, she found she had a lot of free time with nothing to do. So at 11, she joined the Parks Department running program in Huntington Beach, California, near her home. Here she was discovered by Don DeNoon, who became her coach. Under DeNoon, Mary entered every race available and went on to break 3 world indoor track records. She won races in Italy, Russia, and Africa, and her fame as a runner spread around the world. Mary's practice and experience has given her a great deal of confidence. Her goal is to win an Olympic gold medal. Still a teenager, Mary has a long way to go before she reaches her own high standards. But with what she's achieved so far, she is already a step ahead of the crowd. We've talked with athletes who became successful in their teens. Athletes who knew what they wanted early in life. Bill Toomey was a sprinter in college where he had some success. But after graduation, when most athletes are hanging up their spikes, he began to train for the decathlon. He went on to become the 1968 Olympic decathlon champion and world record holder, and perhaps the best decathlon athlete ever.
Made it. Javelin's kind of a fun event, and comes right at the end of the decathlon, event that I competed in at the age of 29. 29 is an age perhaps that a little late for the decathlon, but what's important in terms of my talking to you is the fact that I started late, and things can happen even when you start late. This event over here, the shot put, this probably was one of the toughest events for me for a lot of reasons. I guess I was very small, 165 pounds when I first started the decathlon, and that wasn't too inspirational, even to my competition. But I developed about 30 more pounds over the next couple of years on top of that 165, so pretty soon I was able to deal with the shot. Not as good as I wanted to, but better than perhaps a lot of people have thought I would. Starting at the age of 23 is a little difficult, but one thing that I think that athletes should keep in mind, because I developed late, wasn't a chronological accident. It was because I had no structure. I had no planning in what I was doing. I seemed to be going from one sport to the next. I seemed to be doing things in track which really had no end in mind. But finally, the decathlon became my goal. And the development, or working towards the decathlon as a goal, a lot of things happened. We've been talking about running. And I've noticed with other decathlon guys that with the added events and the building of the upper body, all of a sudden comes this amazing development of speed. And the running capacity is enlarging. So I had to learn very late. I wish I'd have known that in college, and better yet, I wish I'd have known that in high school, because I think I would have been a better athlete earlier and had more time to even expand beyond what I did. But nevertheless, one of the things that I feel is so vital and so important is that when you're in sport, athletics, a particular sport, whatever it happens to be, you have to really know what it is you want to achieve. If you're just sort of going blind, the chances are that your success is going to be limited. If you know what you want to do and you work to get there methodically, the chances of being successful are tremendous.
Juan Gigi Rodriguez is a small man who became a big name in golf. He's one of the top players on the men's golf tour. Though small in stature, he's one of the longest hitters on the tour, a tribute to his outstanding athletic talent. But Chichi also has an outstanding attitude: determination, desire, and discipline. What Chichi calls the 3 Ds have combined to make him the fine golfer that he is.
Well, I don't believe that athletes are born. I believe that athletes are made. How do you make an athlete? Well, you can become the best at anything you do if you have the 3 Ds: determination, desire, and discipline. That is what makes an athlete. I feel like I was very lucky when I was brought up, because I was brought up during the Depression days when it was very tough to get anything. Now, everything that I ever had, I had to do it the hard way, because I was very small. Well, I'm still are. But most people always told me that I could never do anything, that I could never make it. And then, when I weighed 107 pounds and I was in the Army, I used to always think of becoming the best player in the world. And not only that, but to become the longest hitter. And I used to always believe on outdriving the bigger guys. I never quit, because anybody can quit. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. And things for me never came easy. That's why I never quit. Well, I practice a lot. I enjoy practicing because I enjoy what I'm doing. I believe that everybody should enjoy what they're doing. If they don't enjoy what they're doing, they're in the wrong kind of business. I believe, I must make this part here, that when you have a bad day, I believe that every setback in life should be worked to your advantage. Don't give up. Play by the rules. Be considerate to your playing partners, not only in golf, but in everything else. And my last words to you is, if I did it, you can do it.
Heisman Trophy winner, All-Pro, All-Star, Dallas Cowboy quarterback Roger Staubach. On top now, Roger is an athlete who never lost sight of his goals as he worked his way up.
Well, I'd reached professional football, and it was a dream I had in the service. Down deep, I wasn't sure when I graduated from the academy, but I was finally in Thousand Oaks, California, and some things that hit home to me right away were, I guess, the plateau philosophy. I'd always try to keep things in perspective, and I reached the successful stage in college, but I found out with the Cowboys I'd be on the bench, and that's where I was. I was there for quite a while. We had a fine quarterback here, Craig Morton. When you're on the bench, I tell you, it's a frustrating feeling. You know, you don't even have to take a shower after the game with your teammates.
The big opportunity for Roger came in 1971 when Coach Tom Landry began alternating him with quarterback Craig Morton. Once Roger got his opportunity, he made the most of it.
That was the first time where I was told I was a quarterback. It was the middle of my third year with the Cowboys, and fortunately the team gelled. Our defense played well, and good things started happening to me. We went on and we won 10 games in a row, and we won the Super Bowl. I think the principles that I've applied into my athletic career, as far as, I guess, the time, taking the time to work very hard, you know, having some talent, and of course you've got to be dedicated, and I think perseverance is probably the most important thing, and that's to see the goal and go for the goal beyond the obstacles. You know, a lot of people just see obstacles and they have setbacks, they have defeats, and that's as far as they go. They don't go beyond those setbacks to the goal, and of course perseverance is the key, and I've kind of applied perseverance into my business life. I've been in the real estate business in the off-season for 5 years. It took time to learn, to get acclimated, to find out what it's all about, to prove people I just wasn't an athlete trying to sell them something, that I kind of knew what I was doing. So there was, you know, a lot of times where there was just defeat. You know, people just, sure, they talked to me about the season, the games, but they just didn't seem to want to buy anything. And but I kept trying to learn and perseverance and apply principles. When I made my calls and things didn't go well, I stayed after it, and I didn't quit. And that's true in football, you know, with the setbacks you have, and you have a lot of them, but you just can't quit.
Kyle Rote Jr. is the son of a famous football player. Like his father, he too was a promising gridiron star, but he gave up a wealth of scholarships to pursue his career in the ministry. Kyle is an athlete committed to helping others. Today he plays professional soccer, but he's probably best known for his spectacular victory in the Superstar competition.
I think I was invited to the Superstar competition kind of as a token representative from a token sport, soccer, so that the ABC people could call Superstars a world competition. And when I went down to Rotunda, Florida, there was really no pressure at all because no one expected Kyle Rote, the soccer player, to do well at all. I was part of the kind of the spoils for the bigger sports personalities. And I found that to be a great advantage because no one expected me to do well. Carl Schranz, a skier, he said, "Who is this Kyle Rote?" And I was intent then on trying to prove to him who this Kyle Rote was. I think having a famous father in sports was a great advantage. Certainly there were times when, for reasons of lack of privacy or maybe people expecting me to follow his footsteps, people may have said that was a disadvantage. But really the understanding that he has given me of sports, because we were in a sports family, has been tremendous. I think probably firstly to realize that athletics is not an end in itself was a lesson that I was taught very, very young. And to that same end, also to take care of another vocational training, to develop myself in areas other than athletics was another important lesson that he taught me. And for that reason, I think having the famous father was a great advantage. I was drafted in the first round by the Dallas Tornado in 1972 out of Sewanee. And I think along with some of the people in the press, I certainly thought that being drafted #1 was as much a publicity gimmick as anybody else. Certainly the name Kyle Rote in Dallas, Texas especially, was synonymous with football and with some publicity. And so that put to me a great challenge, a challenge to prove that, gee, I am an individual who does have some athletic ability. And that was something that took me a year or two to get around, but now that in one sense I've kind of made it in professional soccer, looking back at that challenge, that's taught me a lot of things for my life. When I was about 8 years old, a gentleman that you may know something about, Vince Lombardi, who later coached with the Green Bay Packers, told me something about winning and his definition of winning. When I was in high school, we used to have a sign up that said, "Winning is everything," signed Vince Lombardi. But that really wasn't his own definition of what winning was. Winning was everything, but it wasn't the final score. It wasn't 21-14 or 3-2 or 10-7. Winning to Vince Lombardi was doing the most that you possibly could with those abilities that you have. I think it's great because then it lets you, sitting where you are, judge yourself by the same standard that O.J. Simpson or Stan Smith or Reggie Jackson or any other great professional athletes, the same standard that they have to measure themselves by. Are you doing the most that you possibly can with those abilities that you have? And of course it transcends the world of sports too. It goes into academics, into your vocation, whatever you're doing. And it's a great standard to measure your life by too.
Doing the best you can. That's what it's all about. And when you're going down that road, you're winning. You're staying ahead of the crowd. That's why it's important to establish personal goals. Goals that lead to self-achievement and personal fulfillment. That's what our great athletes do, and that's something each of us should do, no matter who we are or what we're doing.